It's over, pack your bags, go home, sell everything you have, apply at McDonald's. It's not gonna work anymore. It's what I hear all around me. People actually start believing that this bull market is over, or at least close to over. People say it's gonna top out at the end of the year. We're not getting an altcoin season. There's a lot of FUD right now. There's a lot of honest fear and uncertainty and doubt in the market. And that's because of a couple things. Because of the fact that, Bitcoin made a new all-time high before the halving, and that's a big reason for people to believe that the whole cycle is going to go 1 year to the left because of this wick basically here. Also, altcoins are, not doing well. They have been going down the complete year so far, and it looks like we need a lot of patience. And it's just like, every time we get this in the market, it's usually a big buying opportunity when people actually stop believing. I have some discussions with people where they say, nah, it's gonna stop soon. And I try to explain like why. There's like nothing changed about the 4-year cycle. And yeah, like I said, then the argument is like, well, we made a new high before the halving. Yeah, we barely did. We wicked above it for a couple of days and we went below it and now we're struggling. That's, in my opinion, not the reason to say that this is all over. Then again, I do get it. The sentiment is low. Nobody is really here. The retail is either in meme coins or in Bitcoin, not really in altcoins. And you can just see that altcoins are lagging. So let's take a look mostly at the altcoin market, but also about my expectations for this crypto market and why I honestly think that this is actually far from over. So give the video a thumbs up if you feel like, okay, this is going to be interesting. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Welcome. Turn the bell notification on. Don't miss out on anything because we were here from the bear market for this channel and we are going to ride this the complete bull market and the rest of the markets that are about to come. And it's honestly not that hard in crypto to make it. You just have to have conviction and patience. And if you mix these two ingredients, you're set for some good gains, actually. Because the 4-year cycle so far is pretty predictable. If you look at how Bitcoin moves, then we have the top, end of 2013, end of 2017, end of 2021. We have the bottom, beginning of 2015, beginning of 2019, beginning of 2023. And everything that happens in between, it's just basically noise, actually, if you ask me. Why do I say that? Well, here, in this bull market, for example, we went down and we went up really hard, right? And after that was the period where people thought like, yeah, bull market, full mode bull market right now, deploy, buy, get in, right? And then we went down really hard. And then there's always the excuse like, that was because of COVID. And although that's partly true, without COVID, we also crashed more than 50%, right? And that's just because Bitcoin went up too fast, too hard. Now, I want to make this video pretty, positive because my long-term vision, long-term, I mean, for the complete bull market that we have to go because we're at half of it, if you ask me, but that's very bullish. However, I do want to mention the caution that we should still have when it comes to the altcoin market. Because altcoins, say whatever you want, they have not been performing well. Of course, we have some exceptions here and there. Overall, the altcoin market is lagging, right? And that's also the reason why nobody is really in crypto and why this video only gets like 2 likes. So if you can like the video, it would help me a lot. But the altcoin market is... It's really lagging. It's really lagging. And like I said, the complete year, it has been going down already, right? And you might feel like, that's not really true, right? Like if you look at this year, from January this year, the altcoin market has been going up with, well, let's say 35%. Yeah, whoop-de-doo. But Bitcoin went up more. And if you look at the altcoin market on its Bitcoin pair, it's been going down the complete year. Now, this is dangerous stuff because when it comes to altcoins, and I want to mainly focus on that as that's just where most money comes from if you play it well, right? It's also where you lose most money. But it's dangerous out there. Altcoins not really moving right now, right? If you look at it on its dollar pair, the complete altcoin market, then you can say like, hey, from the bottom until where we are right now, the altcoin market has gone up with 260%, right? Bitcoin more like 370 or so. And that means that altcoins have collectively mooned less than Bitcoin, while Bitcoin is lower risk, right? So was it worth it to be in altcoins? I mean, if you bought the bottom and sold the top, yes, of course, then it's always. But for long-term hold, you could have better been in Bitcoin, right? So altcoins on the Bitcoin pair are, of course, down. Now, there are some things that make me a little cautious, because altcoins cannot take really much more of a hit, or if that happens, it could crash really hard. And I've been saying this for a long time, and it's not like the nicest thing to hear if you are already in altcoins, but so far it has been playing out, right? Here, I started being bullish on altcoins, and according to some people, that was a little too late. But yeah, then again, I don't want to buy every dip. I wanted to wait for confirmation. And we wrote that. That's nice. But we're now back at where we were, right? But now the trend is not up, but the trend is now down. And this is not the most dangerous chart that I want to look at. So we'll come to that. But first, is the bull market really over? Could it actually be that it will top out soon and that we don't get what we actually all expect? Well, let's start with Bitcoin, because if you want to have an understanding about the altcoin market, in my opinion, you have to look at Bitcoin first. The altcoin market doesn't move without Bitcoin leading the way. Okay, so Bitcoin for now is boring the fuck out of people, and that's already a reason for people to say like, oh yeah, it's not looking good out there and it's boring and it'll go away. You know, we've been in this range since the end of February. It's now middle June, right? So we've been ranging for 3.5 months right here. Is that anything weird? Well, if you ask me, not really. If you, for example, look at this range right here, right? We entered this range in March 2023 and we broke out in October. So that was for more than half a year that we ranged. And even though we were going sideways for half a year, it was still in the middle of an uptrend. So it is a little about perspective. If we now break down of this range, yeah, then it could take a little longer, and then we might go to the, I don't know, 50, something like that. That's a little too short term for me to predict, and I am not here sitting to predict stuff, because that will be wrong, of course. Predictions are a little weird, if you ask me, but it's more about chances and statistics, right? We could break up, we could break down, we could go sideways. That's kind of the moral of the story. Why I think that we will not break up that easily this time is for a couple of reasons. Reason number one is that we are moving too fast. And like I said, a lot of people, they say like, yeah, we're going to top out earlier this time. I don't know if, like, some people, they might think like I'm smart for thinking that because nobody expects that. I feel like everybody is kind of now expecting that, but without a really good reason, actually. Right? Bitcoin, yeah, it made a new all-time high before the halving. That's definitely true. There's no way around that. However, it was an all-time high or above its all-time high by 6.8%, let's say 7%. And since then, we're struggling there, right? So it's not a clear break, right? And again, you know, what happens between the tops and the bottoms, it's kind of noise to me. I mean, in this cycle, we never went up with 350% in like half a year, right, for Bitcoin. That was crazy. We went completely parabolic, and then we went completely to the downside. Yeah, if that wasn't a reason for people to say that that time was different, then I don't know, right? So people were definitely saying over there, well, you know, fuck, the whole cycle is broken now. We had a big run up, then we had COVID, whole world going to shit. This is going to change the cycle. And over here, when we topped out in April, people said, you see? And then what Bitcoin did is, nope, November, end of 2021, down. right? The cycle is so strong that even a worldwide pandemic cannot change it. Okay, so I don't feel like the ETFs that kind of rushed Bitcoin is going to drag that all the way through the coming cycle, right? I feel like, yeah, it was moving a little fast, but now it's catching up. And I want to show you this. If you look, and I've showed you this before, but this is a really interesting chart. If you ask me how Bitcoin moves after the halving, you can see that this red and orange line are the two previous halvings, and the green one is where we are right now. Yeah, you tell me, are we on track or not? Right? Like, this looks perfectly on track with the other cycles. So if that's the case, then you could say like, well, the other two cycles, they kind of went like sideways for 130 days before going up, right? 130 days since the halving. So if we take this 130 days, so that's the average, right? If we get that. If we take this 130 days from the halving, then it means that Bitcoin, that it would be logical that Bitcoin goes sideways until, let's say, August this year. All right, let that sink in. We've been going sideways for 3 months. Now, if we go sideways till the end of August, that's like another 2.5 months. Okay, so prepare for the fact that it could be boring, and if that happens, that's only normal. Right? We can also go more to the downside, right? Until August, maybe. It could happen as well. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the complete average. I mean, it could be September, it could be July. I don't know. But that would be a sign, if that happens, that a left translated cycle is getting very unlikely. If Bitcoin now breaks up, yeah, then it's really moving fast. And then you should wonder like, hey, how are we going to play this cycle? Because it's just moving faster. But again, if we look at this, yeah, it wouldn't be weird, right? If it just, goes sideways for a while, even maybe 150 days, depends a little bit on what you define as sideways in this chart. Right? If anything, you could say that here it was really going up and that was 160 days. So that will take us to September. Therefore, I don't know exactly. But this is very normal if we do this, right? We moved up too quick. So to compensate, we go sideways for a little longer than we all like. That's normal. That's normal. So that's another reason for me to believe that this time is different. Now, also, retail isn't here, right? And that is, I kind of understand, a reason for people to believe like, oh, if nobody cares right now, then what is going to drive us up? For the new people, the red line is the social metrics. That's the YouTube views, subscribers, Twitter followers, etc. Yeah, it's been going down, right? We just made a cycle low on this chart in May, in like 3 weeks ago, right? Now it's going up a little bit again, but overall, meh, it's nothing really interesting right there. So that's going down. So people stop caring. People stop believing. People don't give a shit anymore. And that's for people a reason to believe like, yeah, retail's not here. Why should I care then? I can see this as something very positive as well, though, because Bitcoin is sitting at all-time highs, basically, right? Last time we were sitting at this price here and here, we had retail all over the place, right? And if there is a lot of retail, then there is a lot of retail as well to sell, right? And no more retail to gain. Everybody was already there. So that drove the price down. Now, however, Bitcoin seems to hold that same price while nobody is here. So nobody to sell also, right? At least no retail. So, and with the ETFs, I don't think that they have been buying Bitcoin at 40, 50K to just sell it at 60, 70. That's like, these ETFs, they are not to trade, they're to invest, okay? Don't think that they're doing all of this and taking that risk for a 20, 30, 40, 50% pump. They are in for the long term. I think we can all agree on that. So there's nobody really to sell right now. right? And of course, the price could go to 50 and you'd be like, ah, people sold. Yes, but not spectacularly like we had over here before the bear market game. And this is strength by Bitcoin. Nobody's here and we still are at this level. So can you imagine if the retail finally steps in again? Yeah, that would be good for the price, of course. Now, what will make retail step in? Well, I think that at least, this is not really my field, but if you look at the last bull market and Altseason, etc., QE. We need QE. Okay, quantitative easing. Sorry, my Dutch is like, but we need QE. Okay, that's what we don't have at this moment yet. Okay, we don't have that. Still, Bitcoin is doing pretty well. Now, also, you could be like, always put a narrative on it, right? But the macro conditions are the things that matter. We need the money printers. We need QE. We need the inflation not out of control. That's what we need. Now everybody is looking for a narrative all day. The ETF was the narrative. The halving was the narrative, right? And it all adds up. But at the end of the day, that's not what's gonna pump it. Right now, for example, people also, I hear some arguments like, the cycle is gonna end early because elections are November something, right? And it's a little pro-crypto right now. All of a sudden, everybody loves that Trump. Everyone loves Trump. Because, of course, he knows a lot of people are in crypto. So let's say something positive about crypto, then they will vote for me. I think it's so simple. But okay, let's all pretend that he is good for crypto, actually. And then people think like, once the elections came, then we're gonna dump. So that puts the narrative to the end of this year. However, I don't know, man. Last cycle, we also had the elections over here. And what happened after the elections was the parabolic move. And that's not because of the election. That's because it was just the post-halving year. And that's how the economy works. That's how the whole 4-year cycle works. That's how it's linked to the macro. So try to ignore the narratives a little more, I would say. Although they could cause some hype, right? And they could definitely do something on the chart. I mean, once we got to the Bitcoin ETF, spike, sell, pump, right? It's just what it is. But overall, election, no election, ETF, no ETF, this, that, or not. The chart moves how the chart moves, right? So now, people are, of course, focused on altcoins. Let's talk about that. Because that's now where the big money comes from, the big losses come from, the big disappointments come from, and the thrill, of course. So, okay, this is going to be fun. So please give the video a like if you like it. Altcoins. First, they're not doing well. If you look at the Bitcoin dominance, this is the chart that says if it's an alt season or not. Well, if we look at this chart, if the dominance for Bitcoin goes down, it means the dominance for altcoins goes up. So if the chart goes up right here, then it's a Bitcoin season. If it goes down, it's an altcoin season. Well, we have been in Bitcoin season, and the last time we saw an altcoin season was in 2021, post halving year, and the time before that was in 2017, post halving year. These were the two alt seasons that we got. So would it be weird to say, well, 2021, we're getting an alt season? I think that's fair. I think there's no reason to believe that we are not getting an alt season in 2021. Altcoins did do well at some point this year, right? If you look at the altcoin chart itself, right, it did do well, right? But then again, if you look at Bitcoin, it did do weller, right? So we haven't seen an alt season. And that's, on one hand, is that very positive because there are maybe a lot of people in crypto after 2021, which have never seen an alt season. Maybe they find this as an alt season, right? Altcoins did very well right here. But if you compare this move to the actual alt seasons, right, then it's not much of a move, right? Even if we get it right now, not be as significant as over here or here. It doesn't matter. Like, this was like crazy, and even this will be crazy. So we need the Bitcoin dominance to go down in order to see an alt season. Now, just, apart from all the reasons and the narratives again, etc., just by looking at this chart, is this chart bullish or bearish? Well, it looks pretty freaking strong to me, right? And I would say, yeah, it goes more towards maybe 57%. There are people saying it goes to 60%. There are even people saying it goes to 73%. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. It could, but I think that 57, 58, maybe a wick above it, but I think that that's a pretty big resistance level. And it takes its time. And at a certain point, it will come down. Now, what's funny is also, if you put this on the monthly chart and you take, again, the Bitcoin halvings, you can see when the halvings were. This is just pure speculation from my side. But we had the halving. 8 months later, we had an alt season. We had the halving. 8 months later, we have an alt season. So we had the halving right here. If we get an alt season again 8 months later, or at least somewhere close to that, right? Doesn't have to be exactly the same, but, all of a sudden 2 months is like very different. So let's say around 8 months later, puts us at the end of the year. So that's also a reason why I think that at the end of the year, we're getting an alt season. Now, also another reason is because altcoins, they usually pump after Bitcoin pumped really hard. So if you look at when altcoins made a new high last cycle, right? This was the high, and they made a new high over here, February 2021. Then what did Bitcoin do February 2021? It was already sitting here, right? It was sitting at 40K, right? And that's where altcoins finally broke their all-time high. But Bitcoin was already sitting at double of that. So if that repeats again, then I'm not saying we need Bitcoin at 140 or so, but we need Bitcoin to make a pretty huge breakout before altcoins finally do. Well, again, if we go to the chart that we were just looking at, ROI after the halving, you can see that Bitcoin is like, if it follows, then it should mean that could happen like somewhere maybe, I don't know, day 185 from the halving, maybe. Well, what's day 185 from the halving? And that's like tomato. That's around October, right? So end of the year. Right, so I honestly expect and pumps can happen, right? Don't stick me to this. I could be completely wrong about this, but what I just expect based on the cycle so far is a boring summer or a downward summer, and again maybe it could pump here and there, and then at the end of the year, I expect some fireworks, especially for Bitcoin first, but altcoins should definitely follow. Now, the danger about altcoins, for the people that have been prepared for this should be great, right? Because we can buy altcoins at the lows right now. Again, not if you look at the dollar chart, but I've been saying for a while last year, like, hey, I'm pretty cautious still about altcoins, and I'm mainly buying Bitcoin. And if you look at altcoins on the dollar pair, yeah, they're up together with Bitcoin. It's because Bitcoin went up, altcoins just felt like, okay, we follow, right? But again, altcoins to something, 200 something percent, Bitcoin way more, right? So if you look at altcoins on their Bitcoin pair, they are now sitting at the lows, right? Now, I must admit that this is not the most perfect chart because this is the total tree. So that's everything in crypto except for Bitcoin and Ethereum. We deleted USDT from that as well, and we divide that by the Bitcoin market cap. And then this is the collective altcoin market on its Bitcoin pair, right? Now, there is a better chart, which I will go to. But this is the dangerous one, okay? You can see this two ways. What you can do is you can look at it like this. We had an accumulation area. We had an uptrend, right? That's the 4-year cycle phase, basically. with a distribution, we had a downtrend. And now we start again. We have an accumulation area, and then we could see an uptrend, distribution, downtrend. That's like the positive view. And that could be very realistic though. What you can also look at is that, you know, you can fit a Bart Simpson right into this, and it went down. That's a pattern. You can fit a mini Bart in this, like Siamese twin Bart here also. But apart from that, it is kind of doing what it did last cycle as well, right? Where we had, there's not as much data, but here we had an accumulation phase, uptrend, distribution phase, downtrend, and then we had another kind of distribution phase before the second leg came. And that's where we got the money print, the skewy, etc. And that's eventually where we went up. We are not in these macro conditions right now, right? So although we can look at this chart, if we look at, okay, but what's the, is there QE right now? No. So we are exactly kind of following this pattern right now, right? And that could be another move to the downside. It could be. If we look at others on their Bitcoin pair, this is an interesting one. Others, again, for the people that don't know, is also the altcoin market, but then excluding the top 10. Okay, so we don't include some stable coins, but also no Solana and Cardano. Wait, Cardano is not in the top 10 anymore. But whatever, the XRPs and these kind of coins, right? Because not everyone is interested in buying these high caps. If we divide that by Bitcoin, you could see one thing, like long-term altcoins are strong against Bitcoin. That's at least the top 125 is gathering strength against Bitcoin. Now, if we zoom in on where we are right now, then you can see this. We are in this pattern right now, and this is not a lot of data, so we can break down, right? But if this, you know, pattern is intact, we could bounce right here and go up. That's like the most useless shit you can hear. Of course, we can go down, we can go up. But hey, I'm not gonna say they're like, yeah, we are going to go down. Like, how the fucking know, right? How should I know? There's nobody to know. But this is also a chart that I feel like, okay, we kind of went down, right? We went up, it showed strength, and then we are continuing our way down. Now, if you want to make it a little more precise, we went down, we had a pretty hard bounce. We went down, bounce, bottom, right? Up, down. What did we do over here? Down, bounce, down, bounce, bottom, up, crash. I'm not a fan of saying like, hey, it happened here, so it's gonna happen again. But it is pretty fucking precise so far. Right? It is pretty damn scary precisely. So I do feel like, okay, if we are now, let's say here somewhere, maybe here, then yeah, it could be that we are going to see this kind of bounce right now, right? This bounce right here, what we had over here, we bounce with 30%, right? 30%. In your altcoin bag, that could be like 2-3x, okay? Because this doesn't include coins outside of the top 125, so they will pump harder and dump harder once we get this move, right? So that's definitely a possibility that we could get. So I am still being a little cautious with this whole altcoin narrative. Now, again, for the people that have been preparing for this, that's great news. Because a lot of people, if you look at altcoins on the dollar pair, right, they completely missed out buying over here. Completely, right? I feel like if this is going to play out, man, everybody's getting a second chance, okay? Because this, and especially if you look at this chart, right, a total 3 minus USDT divided by Bitcoin, if this is the range, right, give or take, right? If this is the range, and we're going to go to the downside of the range, then the altcoin market against its Bitcoin pair is going to fall another 36%, right? 36, maybe 30, it kind of depends, right? In this year so far from the top, we have gone down 23%, right? So that crash will be way harder than what we have seen so far this year. Again, I'm not saying that this is going to happen. Not trying to scare anybody. I don't know as well. But I'm just saying, hey, the possibility is still there, right? So be careful. Don't YOLO too much into altcoins. Keep it to consideration that this is a possibility. If this is going to happen, then altcoins are going to crash completely freaking hard on their Bitcoin pair. That makes sense, as a lot of altcoins are already making new lows. Not all of them, but if you look at Veracity, for example, yeah, it made new lows, right? It's in price discovery. Veracity, I know, it was a lot of hype, right? Ultra also made new lows. So, yeah, could this crash with another 40%? Yeah, I mean, why not? From the moment that it broke the range, it's already down 57%. So what's another 40? If you look at Uniswap, it made a new low a couple of weeks ago. There are some strong coins, not going to ignore those. Superverse, for example. Then again, from the moment it topped out, it is already down 50%. But a lot of coins are making new lows. Quant is making a new low. Focal Forge made a new low. Matic made a new low. Illuvium made a new low. They're all making new lows, right? So another 30-40% crash. Yeah, once we're in price discovery to the downside, it's not weird, right? So what does that mean on the dollar pair for your altcoins? That fully depends on what Bitcoin does, right? If Bitcoin goes up when we get this move down, so let's say Bitcoin goes up, so the dominance goes up, which is pretty correlated lately, and therefore altcoins go down on the dollar pair, on the Bitcoin pair, then yeah, it depends on how much Bitcoin is going up exactly, right? It means altcoins on the dollar pair could stay a little stable, little up, little down. It depends. But if this move happens during a Bitcoin downtrend, then altcoins could go easily down with 50%, if not more. And here we also broke down, right? What happened with Bitcoin right there? Let's take a look. Bitcoin over there. It's pretty funny. Well, funny depends on how prepared you are. If you look, altcoins broke down. Bitcoin also went down, right? That was that period where Bitcoin went from 13K to 6K or something like that, right? Bitcoin lost a lot right there. And altcoins on the Bitcoin pair lost a lot as well. So can you imagine what happened over here for altcoins on the dollar pair? So if we look at July, kind of 2019, altcoins on the dollar pair, which was over here, right? Altcoins on the dollar pair went down with 60%. And that's not including the COVID wick. If we include that as well, it's 73%. But 60%. It's not impossible that we get such a move. Okay, I just want to make people aware. Sometimes I feel like I'm giving the wrong message, and that people say like, "Oh, you're bearish. It's not gonna happen," etc., etc. So far, it kind of happened already. All right, we're sitting at the lows. Right, if you had Bitcoin, you can now buy altcoins at the lows. Very simple. But it's not that I want to be negative about this. But I do think it's smart that somebody knows about this so they can prepare. Because if this happens, that's going to be the biggest opportunity that we get as well. Right? I have some cash. I have some Bitcoin. I'm prepared. I am not willing to be in cash or Bitcoin in the first part of 2021. At least not too much. I want to be in altcoins because that's the year where altcoins go up. But what good is it if you already have everything that you have allocated to the altcoin market and then watch this move happens because you think that it's not going to happen this time? Just feel like, just consider, what if you're wrong about that? What if you are wrong and this move will happen? Are you going to be happy with it? If not, then hedge a little bit to the other side as well. All right. That's what I do. And that just, I don't know, I'm so comfortable. If altcoins go up right now, I feel like, nice, I'm making money. But if they go down, I feel like, whoa, nice, I get some opportunities right here. Right? That's the thing. Again, like if you look at coins like Matic, for example, right? Matic. You could look at Matic, right? I'm not saying buy Matic. I don't give a fuck about Matic, right? But you could feel like, well, yeah, it's already up 2x from the bottom, right? We missed the bottom. But if you have your Bitcoin, you can now look at Matic and be like, ooh, from the bottom, it's down another 50%. I can get twice as much right now, right? Twice as much. It's crazy. So you can really buy altcoins cheap. And, you know, according to this chart, just because I'm here, it could go down at 36%. Kind of makes sense, right? And then we'll see. What you want to do when it comes to altcoins, you might want to, you know, look at the altcoins that are strong against Bitcoin, of course. So although you can buy this cheap, there's a reason why this is cheap, right? Look, I mean, you can look at Matic Bitcoin and be like, oh, Matic is very cheap right now. Or you can look, for example, at IMX Bitcoin and be like, yeah, it's not at the lows yet. Yeah, but IMX is holding relative strength against Bitcoin for a reason, right? So it's better to buy this than a Matic, in my opinion. So look at altcoins that are actually strong against Bitcoin as well. And it doesn't matter if they are in a downtrend right now, because everything is in a downtrend, right? If something is not in a downtrend right now, it's more of an exception. But we just saw that the complete market is sitting at lows against Bitcoin. So if you, for example, look at AVAX, hey, AVAX is not sitting at lows. AVAX is a strong coin. So AVAX is worth buying. That's kind of how you want to look at it, in my opinion. Right? It should be sitting at lows, according to the average. So just go over your altcoins and look like, okay, below the lows, weak. Below the lows, weak. It's sitting at the lows. Okay, average, super. Above the lows, strong. Sol, above the lows, strong. Cedify, above the lows, strong. Ronin, above the lows, strong. Quant, weak, right? That way you can look for yourself like, okay, maybe I should buy this or maybe I should not buy this. All I want to say, though, is be prepared for the fact that, you know, so far we have been following this complete pattern. Completely. And every time we go up, people feel like, yeah, nah, it's all good. Fuck you. Altcoins are doing fine. And at the end of the day, we're now sitting at the lows, right? And there are these exceptions, of course. And I've been playing with these exceptions for the last year, basically. But it doesn't mean that the whole altcoin market is looking fantastic right now, because it isn't. Okay, so be careful about that. Again, that would be the biggest buying opportunity that we get, because what would be the narrative for an alt season? Well, it's very simple. Altcoins going up in price, right? People like a price chart that's going up, and therefore people buy. And then that's just what it is. When I run my own project, Web3 Whales, and when we were in an uptrend, everybody was buying. And now that it goes in a downtrend together with the rest of the market, nobody's buying. Right? It's of course the other way around, but that's just how the human brains work. It's just what it is. And I think, though, as well, that if you have been watching some Benjamin Cohen videos, he made a very good point about something. Why is the market now weaker than what it was earlier? Well, that's very very simple. Also, if you ask me, he said this, and I'm just going to repeat what he said, but it's, I think, very true. You know, Bitcoin is now not going up. Why not? Because altcoins on their Bitcoin pair are going down. So here, for example, altcoins were worth a little more against Bitcoin. So here people were selling their altcoins for Bitcoin, right? And they got quite some Bitcoin for that. And that made Bitcoin go up in price. But now people are not really getting much Bitcoin for their altcoins, right? So that's not a lot of buying pressure for Bitcoin right now. So what could happen is, in my opinion, at a certain point, these altcoins are going down, right? And they're not giving you a lot of Bitcoin anymore. So there's no fuel for Bitcoin to go up as well. And that would make Bitcoin go down as well. And that would mean as well, though, that if we go down or sideways or further down, I don't know, the longer that takes, again, the less realistic a left translated cycle is. If we are still, like I am, about the left translated cycle, my conviction that that is going to happen is about 15%, maybe. If we are still in or below this range in August, September, then my conviction drops to like 5, maybe lower. Right? Because then it would mean that Bitcoin is on track. And this story about altcoins, which I just explained, is kind of my narrative as well for this to play out. So, yeah, is this cycle going to be different? Is the bull market close to over? Are we getting an 80K Bitcoin? Nah, fuck no. If you overlay this with the stock market, you could see that Bitcoin is just following the stock market like pretty precise, right? So it doesn't even matter. Again, the Bitcoin narratives, they don't matter, right? If the stock market goes up, Bitcoin goes up. And if you zoom in on a minute chart, yeah, there are definitely differences. For example, the stock market is now going up while Bitcoin is going down, but in the bigger picture, it just goes up. And again, I also hear a lot like, yeah, it's going to 80K, maybe 90, this and that. That's bullshit, man. It's very simple. Right? If you, again, look at the social risk, nobody is watching while Bitcoin is sitting at 70K. Do you really imagine that Bitcoin just goes up 10K from here and that would be all the retail watching? And like, if people don't have any interest right now at 70K, then the interest wouldn't skyrocket at 80K as well. So I feel we are going to break 150 something at minimum this cycle. I think the people that are like, there's always a group of people that get wrecked, right? Therefore, other people get rich. What group of people is getting wrecked this cycle? I think that's the group of people that says that it's over soon. It's just going to top out under 100K. We're not getting an alt season. The people that actually don't believe in it anymore, right? They sell too soon, and that's the reason that these people get wrecked, and that's the reason the people that just stick on to what we actually see and the data that we have are going to make it. Simple. Long video. Sorry, not sorry. If you can like it anyway, not going to edit that. Subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on, check out the Patreon, Telegram, whatever down below. Interesting stuff, and I'll see you guys very soon.